Chat Cave with Mike and Max.
Welcome back to the Chat Cave here on McGTV, youtube.com/MikeMcGTV. Follow me on Twitter at MikeMcGTV, and also joined by my co-host in the Chat Cave,
Max Andrews. You can find me at www.3geeks.ninja or 3 Geeks Podcast on Twitter, iTunes, Stitcher, and anywhere you get your podcast fun.
So this is going to be a shorter episode of the Chat Cave, probably, much like what we did when we memorialized or remembered another contributor to the long-standing Batman mythos. I believe Prince was the last one we did sort of a eulogy or send-off to.
Yep, yeah, that was, because he had such a huge part in the that first Batman movie there, so yeah, we, took it upon ourselves to say goodbye to the legend.
Well, dare I say the person we're saying goodbye to today is one of the quintessential, linchpins in Batman's long history. Not just in Batman's history, but I'd say in geek and nerd culture overall, probably.
You can't think about Batman without, thinking about the Adam West 66 series, and, he's just iconic. He's been around forever, so yeah, it's hard to even think about Batman without his part in it.
I know we've discussed the 1966 Batman movie on a previous episode, and this might be retreading a little bit or revisiting some anecdotes we discussed on that episode, but again, refresh my memory, Max. What was your kind of first exposure to Adam West? Was it the Batman 66 TV show?
No, I actually saw the movie before I saw the show.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, the movie would be my first foray into that 66 Batman. But it grabbed me, and then after that, I had to watch some episodes of the show.
Mm-hmm. What was your kind of takeaway of Adam West as Batman initially?
Well, it's weird too, because I saw the Keaton Batman before I saw the Adam West Batman, and it kind of threw me at first. Yeah, I didn't really get why Batman is so goofy, and bat shark repellent,
Right.
But it grows on you, and it's very endearing, and what they did there was just awesome, fun stuff. So yeah, it grew on me. It took me aback a little bit at first, but it definitely has that place in my heart now.
I just recall, by the time I saw the show, of course, it was already in syndication. Mm. And I just recall Saturday nights when I was about, I want to say 6 or 7, they had a block of programming on around this 6 o'clock or 7 o'clock hour, where it was MASH. I believe Star Trek The Next Generation was already in syndication at that point. And then Batman. And they would alternate, I think. I forget what channel, but my dad and I, we'd sit down, we'd watch some MASH, we watched some Star Trek The Next Generation, but then when Batman 66 episodes started airing, even then I could tell that this meant something to my dad. I put up some Adam West artwork on my Facebook feed, and my mom responded back as my dad also was saying he was my Batman too, thoughtfully and very kind of reminiscing, I guess. So, if anything, I think that was my first exposure to live-action Batman that I can recall. I remember seeing the show before I saw Keaton, but I was able to differentiate between the wildly different tones.
Yes.
I still took the 66 Batman seriously, I think mainly because I could tell Adam West, even though the premise was bizarre and silly, he gave it his all in terms of drama. He would inject as much characterization and as much earnestness into his performance.
I'd compare Adam West to Bill Shatner in Star Trek, playing Captain Kirk. That character is ridiculous, any other way than what the situation that they were in, and those guys gave it, just put out 100%, and that's why a lot of people grew to love the show, is because you can see that everything was absolutely absurd, but they were giving it the old college try. They're doing it like legit.
Yeah, I guess something like William Shatner as Kirk would be very comparable to Adam West as Batman. I mean, both characters kind of have a very strong foothold in geek culture. But I would even go a step further and say it reminded me a lot of what Bill Murray was doing in like Ghostbusters, the first one, where it's straddling that fence a little bit. Like he's half serious and half in on the joke.
Right.
And if he had dedicated one way or another, it would fall apart. That whole premise wouldn't work if Batman himself wasn't kind of at one point aware of like, this is messed up, the life I lead. But at the same time, he's like, got to give it his all. He's got to give it, like you said, that college try and commit to a pretty compelling performance.
So do you think Burt Ward rocks the bat outfit now? Like, is that...
Wouldn't that be something? Huh.
Does he finally upgrade to Nightwing?
Well, yeah, that'd be interesting because I think they had done that Batman versus Two-Face animated feature. They'd already recorded their stuff for it, okay, which I think has Bill Shatner as Two-Face.
Oh, nice.
So that should be coming soon. That might be his last, feature.
Right.
So I'm kind of wondering, it's like, could they do like a 66 version of Burt Ward graduating into Nightwing or, taking on the Bat mantle? Who knows? To go along with just his role as Batman, I just appreciated the dude for who he was. And again, to kind of go along the William Shatner comparisons, there are times, I'm sure you've heard some tales because you've been around the convention circuit far more than I have and have probably seen the man up close and personal as well. There are times where I think either you or Jason or someone has mentioned that Shatner, you can tell at times, is a little burnt out on the fandemonium of his character.
Yeah, like I don't want to say he's ever like mean or prickly or whatever, but like you can tell he's kind of tired, just of the same stuff. You get that look from Shatner, and I don't want to like dog him or anything. I'm not trying to talk bad about him, but you do see that like when you meet him in person. If it's at like the end of the day,
Right. I never really heard of and that's the thing. I love William Shatner too for who he is, but I can imagine that being married to that image for a majority of your adult life, it can, it plays on you a little bit. But I just recall, for the comparison's sake, I can't really recall an instance of hearing Adam West ever gripe. I mean, I'm sure there were moments. I'm sure he couldn't get out from that image of being Batman.
But then, also Adam West just took it and ran with it. It's always, funny to see Adam West pop up in something because there's an inherent Bat joke in there somewhere, like. Right. So, yeah, I think that, he kind of got stuck, shoehorned into this whole thing. But, he took it with the great, he did it with a smile, and I think he was appreciative of his fans, and it's just like a good guy. Like,
I think he also really championed a lot of stuff related to the character as well. Like there was that moment going back to the Burton Batman where a lot of people, or even he himself, I think, was kind of putting his name out there to be like, just give me a walk on as Thomas Wayne or something.
Yeah,
he's like, I'd love to kind of revisit this world again, even if it isn't the exact same world or anything like that. I mean, he did finally revisit the role in animated form, but
I mean, how awesome would it have been if Adam West, the way I was, like, even just like it was just like a picture, or just like a quick flashback memory or something, in the Burton movies? That would have been great.
I wonder if they're going to do something along those lines in that new DCEU Batman movie that'll eventually get made. Like you'll see, I don't know, just a picture in the background or something, and you make him like a very important character from the Bat mythos or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, I think Adam West would have made a great Thomas Wayne. Like that could have definitely happened. Like that's a kind of a shame that he never got that.
Or like you cut to Arkham Asylum and there's a portrait hanging of like Jeremiah Arkham and it happens to be him. Like that'd be kind of cool.
Something. Something classy.
Well, and that's the thing. He always seemed game for nerdy stuff. Like, work's work. So who is he to refuse? Yeah. But there's a couple things. Like, he was also the voice of the Grey Ghost in the animated series. One of my favorite episodes, honestly, because it hit a lot of nostalgia buttons about watching old 66 Batman. So
yeah, and it's super cool. Just like Batman watched Batman when he was growing up.
Yeah, the one thing I never really gelled with in that episode was that, man, Batman wouldn't have like a childhood shrine. Like he could acknowledge that the character had an influence on how he developed into his own hero, but he wouldn't have basically my nerd corner in the Batcave the way he did in that episode. But who knows? I mean, this Bruce Wayne essentially died at 8 years old, so maybe he's perpetually stuck in that regression or whatever. I don't know.
Yeah, let's get deep psychological here.
But I was looking up Adam's filmography, not just in movies, but also, of course, I'd say TV was his primary, home.
Medium.
And yeah, there's a couple of things I didn't really know he had a hand in. I didn't know he was in the 1990 Flash series.
Oh, what?
Yeah, he played a hippie apparently in an episode. But yeah.
Okay, I gotta check that out. I think we have a copy of that at work.
Yeah, so he was in 1990's Flash series. He was on Lois and Clark. You'll love that. He was on Lois and Clark in 1995.
Huh. I don't remember that at all.
Let's see. What else was he in? Animaniacs. That's one of my favorites.
All right. Yeah, that makes sense, though. I mean,
of course, I remember his brief appearance in the Mr. Plow Simpsons episode.
I mean, he was obviously Mayor West in Family Guy.
Yeah, Family Guy, of course, where he basically played himself, or did he?
Right? I would love it if he was that eccentric in real life.
Oh, I'm sorry. He did play Thomas Wayne in The Brave and the Bold in that Chill of the Night episode.
Oh, well, there we go.
It was him as Thomas Wayne and Julie Newmar as Martha.
Martha Wayne? Yeah, that's the one with Diedrich Bader as the voice of Batman, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, I never saw the end of that series. I've watched maybe like 2 seasons, and I kind of fell off with it. But I liked it a lot, and that's awesome. Yeah, that he actually did play Thomas Wayne.
And of course, any big insider Hollywood or inside show business show, he would show up on like 30 Rock and things like that. So his filmography is very extensive. The dude at least consistently worked, even though he couldn't get away from Batman as his go-to. Like that's the one thing everyone's probably going to remember him for mainly. Yeah. He worked consistently.
That's what you got to do, man. You got to pay the mortgage. But like you never got that like jadedness from him, though.
No,
so, that's really cool.
And that's cool. There was always this where sometimes you can kind of tell in interviews with some of the long-standing kings and queens of nerd culture that they're kind of like, oh yeah, I remember that. This is like the 50th time I've had to talk about it. He never seemed burnt out on discussing Batman, is all I'm saying.
It's a heavy responsibility, being part of the Batman legacy, and Adam West, I think he carried it the best.
Is there any particular episode from the series or anything you're aware of that he did project-wise that you would recommend to someone maybe just coming around to the talent and awesomeness of Mr. West?
Well, the series is, I don't think there's any one episode I didn't follow it that well, but I'd say just, anywhere you start anywhere and it'll be fine. It's worth watching. Again, Bookworm is my favorite villain. So any episode of the Bookworm, I suggest above all. But that series is, it's not like today's television, so you're not missing anything if you jump in the middle. And then just enjoy it. And I'd say watch the Cape Crusaders animated feature that they just came out with. That was really, really good, and I liked it a lot. So I'd say, to the person getting their feet wet on Adam West, I'd say you can start there and you'll be fine.
I'd recommend the series overall, the 1966 movie, definitely. I'd recommend you go out and find his memoirs. I think it was called Back to the Batcave or Return to the Batcave. I remember reading that when I was in middle school, I believe. And it's a brutally honest kind of account of his very like struggling beginnings to the series, to coping with, you know, his newly acquired fame and typecasting. It's really very honest too, because he talks about when he was partying with so and so, or when he bedded you know who, or anything like that. Like, he doesn't hold back. I would recommend that as a read. I'd recommend the DC animated Caped Crusader feature that we talked about on a previous episode as well.
Oh yeah, check that out too.
But also, it's something I just recently saw this weekend because I'd heard he passed. I would recommend the pilot for this little 1991 pilot that Conan O'Brien and Robert Smigel had written, called Look Well. Have you heard of this?
No.
So he plays almost a very like fictitious and exaggerated version of himself. Here's the basic plot from Wikipedia. He's like a washed up TV action hero who at the peak of his career was ceremonially deputized by local law enforcement, falsely believes he can solve crimes in real life.
Oh, I'm down for that.
Yeah, so I've seen the pilot. It's pretty funny. I mean, it's Conan O'Brien and Robert Smigel, like when they're just hitting their stride. I don't even think Conan had been on SNL that long, or if he'd even started at that point. It's pretty funny and pretty self-aware, I guess would be a good point. But yeah, so that's Look Well, the Batman series. And the animated stuff, definitely. And if you can find it, there's actually this cool like student film he was a part of called Batman New Times. It was basically a precursor to what we'd see with like Lego Batman.
Okay.
He's in it. Dick Van Dyke plays Commissioner Gordon, and Mark Hamill comes back as Joker, of course. Yeah, he lived a full life, at least 88 years old. Jeez.
Yeah, that's a good run. It's not. It's sad, but it's not a tragedy. It's it was his time, so we can just appreciate all that he's given us and all the good, like Batman stuff and all the good work he's done, and look forward and just a little sad, but it's not. It's just the way things go.
And you've got a legacy of work contained within DVDs, VHSs, radio interviews, what have you. So
yeah.
Definitely check out anything from Adam West. I think it's all gold, honestly. But
yeah, he was, because I don't know who else could have done the job. He was just the right guy for the job when it came around, and yeah, he will be missed.
So to take us out of this very solemn but very looking back fondly episode of To the Chat Cave, can you give me your best Adam West impression or one of your favorite lines from him?
Oh God, okay. I'm having a brain fart, but old chum, now old chum. I love that. Like when when they read something off of the back computer, or like they just hatch the plan and they're set it in motion, and he just kind of build up his voice to that crescendo. and yeah, I can't do it. I can't give it justice. But yeah, anytime like they're about to go do whatever, that was the best.
I'll have to say I have so many. One of them from his memoirs where he's talking about Batman and Robin are basically their spirits are broken because the city hates them for some reason, and this one kid is like booing him on the street, and Batman's like, Robin, I've fought many criminals, something along the lines of, Robin, I've fought many criminals, I've taken many blows, but nothing's hurt me quite as deep as that little boy's boo.
Oh man, and that's even better with today's slang.
It's between that and in the movie where he's like, if you have harmed Miss Kitka, I'll kill you all. I'll rend you limb from limb.
Yes, the crescendo.
There's that crescendo you're looking for, where he's almost going to turn into Keaton and be like, you want to get nuts?
Let's get nuts.
Cheers to you, Mr. West.
No good place to throw a bomb.
Yep. Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb. Cheers to you, Mr. West. Rest in peace, sir.
Indeed.
And you've been listening to this episode of To the Chat Cave with Mike and Max. Check us out again at 3geeks.ninja or here on YouTube, 3 Geeks Network, and also here on Mike McG TV, youtube.com/Mike McG TV. Same chat time, same chat channel. Have a good one, old chum.